What's going on, guys? Josh here, Momentum Productions. Today I'm going to be showing you the 360 loop when you're using your gimbal and camera. So you're going to get this kind of effect right here. The 360 loop is a great transition effect, and you can do it right in camera using a gimbal. Let's go take a look and see how it's done. So behind the camera we got my man Kyler here. Check out his channel. He's going to be my model for today. He is going to be standing right in front of this wall, basically almost touching it. And I'm gonna turn on my center guides on my camera. I want to keep him in the center, and I want my focus to be perfect because we don't want our focus to be changing and hunting. Otherwise, we're not gonna get a good shot. So either leave it at manual or turn it on to automatic, but keep it centered on your subject. Also, the guides are really important because they're gonna help you with framing. You wanna keep your subject in the center of the frame throughout the whole entire shot. And watch how slow and consistent I move with the gimbal. I'm in pan follow mode. I disabled my tilt, so that's another big thing too. You don't want to see any changes in your tilt during the shot. And boom, we're in the new location. I got Kyler here in between these palm trees in Santa Monica. If you notice, the way I set up the shot, I'm always at the edge of something. For example, these trees here, they're gonna be blocking a part of my frame, and that's gonna make your transition even more seamless. Basically, we're doing a half of a circle, a 180-degree turn. But when we put everything together, it's gonna be a 360 loop. So that's the effect that we want. Again, you wanna be very steady with your movements. The crisscross method when you're walking with your gimbal is very, very good. And keep those center marks on in your camera because your subject has to be in the center throughout the whole entire shot. So for this next shot, I got Kyler up against the wall, as usual, right?
He's not putting this in the video.
So basically we have a beautiful mural back here. This is a really nice thing to shoot at. Again, same thing as the earlier shots. I'm up close against the wall, and that's gonna allow us to get that really nice, clean transition. How I'm holding the gimbal, really important. One arm on the bottom, one arm at the top, elbows in, and I try to hold my breath as well because this allows me to focus more and it actually produces a much more stable shot. When it comes down to the frame rate, I like to shoot at 120 simply because it gives me that smoothness that I want, but remember, it also increases your shutter speed, so remember to compensate for exposure too. So here we are in Final Cut Pro. I already have my clips selected, and we're just gonna start off going clip by clip. So let me drag my first clip here. And I shot this at 120 frames per second just because I know I can get the smoothest shots in that type of frame rate. So consider doing the same thing when you're shooting as well for these types of transitions. First, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut out the parts of the clip that I don't need. I want the clip to start off moving, not static. So the beginning of the clip here, you'll notice that I'm just trying to fix up my framing and then I start to move. You want to cut out all the parts that don't have movement. So that's what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna cut out the beginning. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, you want the camera to be as close as possible to the wall. You'll see why in just a moment, but it's gonna make our transition seamless. So here's our clip, and if I play back, it's in real time. That's too slow for us. We want it to be very, very quick. So I'm gonna go to the speed ramper tool with our clip selected, and I'm gonna put in a fast motion effect. So let's try 8 times. And if we highlight the clip, we can see how long the clip is going to be. That's 3 seconds. Way too long, way too long. So let's shorten it up to about, let's say 1733. And that will make it 1 second, which should be enough. Also, I forgot to mention this, you want to erase the end part of the clip as well. So as soon as the movement stops, we want to already clip that out. So that's just right about here. We want to be on the other side of the wall. So make sure that's cut out as well. So if we play back the clip, it might be a little bit choppy since it's not rendered. That's totally fine. Now to make this a little bit less choppy for playback, we're gonna highlight the clip, then we're gonna go to modify and render selection. So it's gonna pre-render the clip to make it more seamless. So you can check the status right up here. All right, it looks like it was rendered. Let's play it back. Still a little choppy, but it's just what we need to get started. So if you notice when we play it back, it's very jittery. We need to add some stabilization. So with the clip selected, go to the properties manager right up here, scroll down to stabilization and select it. It's gonna analyze the clip for dominant motion, so wait until it does that. So let's move on to our next clip, which is right here. So same thing, we want to speed it up to about the same rate. It also depends on how you shoot it. Sometimes I filmed a little bit slower with my gimbal, sometimes I filmed faster. So to compensate for clip speed, we're gonna have to adjust the speed ramping. So let me just speed it up to 1733, just like our last clip. I'm gonna go to the speed ramper, go to custom, and then I'm gonna type in 1733. All right, so it should be just about the same. Again, you also want to trim out the fat, so parts of the clip that you don't need. You want to start the clip off on movement. Foreground is another really important part. Make sure that the foreground is covering the left part of the frame. You don't want to see any of the background, such as the beach or the sand, behind that foreground. And at the end of the clip, make sure you have another piece of foreground covering up the right frame of the clip. You don't want to see background. And this, of course, makes a lot of sense to make that seamless transition. All right, so let's keep moving on. It's still a little bit choppy with our playback, but if you have a more powerful computer, it's going to be smoother. But I already get a sense of how this effect is working. So let's grab our next clip here, and that's right here. Again, we're going to speed it up to similar speed, 1733, and we're going to trim out the fat. Now, another thing we need to talk about is scale. Make sure that your subject remains the same size throughout the whole entire transition. That helps out with the seamlessness. So make sure that they are the same size. Sometimes we tend to be closer to a subject, sometimes we tend to be farther, but good thing is that most of the time we can fix this in post, and I'll show you once we run into that issue. Also, it's important to note that we're not adding any effects here besides the stabilization or the speed ramping. Honestly, this is a great transition on its own just by putting the clips side by side. That's why these transitions are key, because they don't take that much time to edit. All right, so now we're looking at a scaling issue here. If we compare this clip with this clip, we'll notice that Kyler is two different sizes. We want him to stay the same size. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna actually keyframe a scale. And what that means is that we're gonna slightly zoom in post while that movement is happening with the camera. So check it out. We're gonna go to scale. We're gonna add a little keyframe right here. And then we're gonna add another keyframe at the end to match the same size as this clip. So check it out. So we're gonna slightly zoom in here. So if we go frame by frame and compare these two clips, we'll notice that Kyler's feet are in two different areas. We want it to be perfectly lined up. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keyframe the position of the clip. So I'm gonna go to the y-axis here, make a keyframe, and all the way at the end of the clip, I'm gonna reposition Kyler's feet so they're a little bit higher. Remember, we zoomed in, so we have a little bit more room to play with. And then we're gonna check the next clip to make sure that his feet are in the same place. Okay. Looks about right. Kyler still looks taller or bigger in this clip, so let's scale up a little bit more to make him seem bigger in this clip right here. So remember, you wanna go to the last part of that frame, and we're just gonna scale up a little bit more. And then we're actually gonna reposition his legs to make sure they're in the same exact spot as the next clip. And that's why I recommend that you use guides to help you out with your composition. It definitely helps you out with centering up your subject. So you can go frame by frame and see that Kyler is basically in the same spot in both clips. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you make that effect. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.